stream is starting soon. Yay. All right.
You
It
got your
is.
wine.
No, I decided to not drink tonight. I feel like tonight might get feisty.
Oh, fair. Yeah, that's fair. Oof. My husband gave me a heavy pour as I asked him to give me some.
Good job, Kyle.
Mhm. Honestly,
All right. It says that we are
I'm gonna sip
live
it
on
slow.
YouTube. Are we up on Twitch?
My phone died, so I can't check for us right now.
Oh
Won't
no.
know. I won't see comments because I just have a wee little laptop. I won't be able to pull it up and have our notes and be able to see your face.
Okay. Um. Oh, well, I guess it would just be helpful if I pulled it up on my phone.
Sorry, yeah. Mary, come sit in my lap and not do that. I need you to be quiet.
We are not live yet
Come here, baby
on
boy.
Twitch. Son of a bitch.
Why
Why is
is
it doing this?
Twitch always the problem child? Okay, I'm gonna make obnoxious kissy noises at my cat to try and get him over here, so I'm gonna mute.
All right, well, we're live on YouTube. And there we go. It finally shows that we are semi-live on Twitch. Okay,
He's only mostly dead.
then let's switch it to
Semi-alive.
our faces. Hi. We are live. Our
Hello.
sound is up, no vid. You're live here. At least sound is. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Apollo. It delayed for me. It's in fact, it's still there. It goes now. It says that we are online. Yeah, I
There's
normally wait.
apologies in advance for my cat and my rabbit playing. You're probably gonna hear it.
Oh,
Just FYI.
I can't hear it.
Good. I don't know exactly what my mic picks up, so hopefully sometimes they can get loud just because there's a cardboard box in there, so they're kicking off it or something.
Hello, hello. Okay, last thing I need. No, go away, boyfriend dungeon. Stop it.
Shall I record on Audacity?
Yeah, that's always helpful. In case of
Mhm.
any weirdness.
Uno, dos, tres.
And
Hana
now,
dulu set. Ichi ni san.
un, deux, trois.
Yeah, my next one would be French. Un, deux, trois. Quatre, cinq, six, sept, neuf, dix. I remember. I'm learning French and I don't remember. But I can count to any number pretty much in either pure or Sino-Korean. Still can do that at least. Man, I really need to brush up on my 한국말. Meow.
Okay.
I need to not play with this clip so much today. I heard that a lot on the patron chat and my audio.
Oh,
I was like,
really?
"Oh, geez." Yeah, when I was listening back, I was like, "God damn it." That really picked up. So I was like with my hands like the whole time. Definitely a fidgeter.
Okay. I think we're good. Oh, and if you can't see, the little white blob is here in my lap tonight.
I love that blob.
I also kind of need to be nice to her tonight because I was a little bit mean. While assembling the chair, she was being cat and was trying to like sniff everything out and
Yeah.
batting away the screws. And then she was
Mhm.
sitting on the actual chair part, and I was like, get off of it. And I tilted it, but then she jumped off and ran face first into the corner of the box. So she's not hurt or scratched or anything, but it really looked like her eyeball hit the corner of the box. So,
Or Maya.
yeah.
I thought you were gonna say she, like, held on when you tilted it and scratched up your new chair before you even got a chance to sit in it.
I don't know if I would have an alive cat.
Yeah, I trim my one cat's claws because he lets me, but my other cat, he's feral, so nope. He's got murder mittens.
Okay, perfect. I have Discord D&D. That's a good idea.
Mhm. 'Cause we are not available.
Well, yeah, and it'd be really annoying if I had to edit out the little pings whenever I get a message or anything like that. Because that will show up on my audio. Okay.
I literally only get messages from you, so I don't talk to people that much.
I have notifications on for a couple different channels. So,
Mm.
hey, Yuri. And Sunrise. And Tequila. And Let's Not. And a whole bunch of different other names. Okay, I think we're ready to start though. Welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Ship, the podcast where we analyze, rate, and review all that the world of video game romances has to offer. I'm Genesis, the girl who's shamelessly been romancing a majority of the blades in Boyfriend Dungeon this week.
And I'm Bravada, the girl who's still exploring the Forbidden West and is putting off completing the last story mission because I don't want it to be over yet. But tonight is about the Milky Way, not the Forbidden West.
And as always, we get up close and personal with each of our character breakdowns. So if you're looking for a spoiler-free zone, sorry lovelies, you are in the wrong place.
So here's your fucking spoiler alert.
Thanks, Ed7, for the spoiler alert. With all the events that we'll be covering today, I think we need it. And a pre-trigger warning for a brief conversation on self-harm, but I'll let you know when that comes up. Today's romance is Jacob Taylor from Mass Effect 2. And V and I will decide if the prize is worth the risk.
Saved the Citadel like you, but what's it saying? Good deeds like pissing yourself in dark pants? Warm feeling, but no one notices.
Oh no. You can't hear them?
Mm-mm. I don't know why.
Okay. Chat, did you guys hear the audio clip? Okay.
Is it just me?
I can't believe that we didn't test that.
We got used to it working. We got comfortable.
Okay.
Training timeout.
Yep. Okay. I'm probably gonna have to do. Okay, I'm back. How do I
Yay.
sound?
I
How do-
don't see you yet.
Okay, but how do I sound?
Perfect.
Okay. And then let's see. Sam, come back.
So here's your fucking spoiler alert.
Perfect.
I can hear it. It's perfect. Sounds crystal clear.
Okay.
I like to sing. And are you recording on Audacity?
I am.
Just
Yeah.
okay, good. Me too. I just wanted to make sure because I'm like, watch us forget. One of us forget or something. I don't know.
Yeah. When I dropped out of the call, I'm the one that does all So here's some behind the scenes stuff for you guys. I'm the one that does all of the Twitch streaming and setup and things like that. So it's from my computer that we are streaming the podcast. So if I ever have to drop out of the call, that means that we're going to go away. But the sound will still be there. And then while I'm clicking around and getting all the things figured out, then it's going to show a black bar. But this error is because whenever our calls are over, I switch my settings so that way it's only my microphone. So that way if I'm chatting with other people, they can't hear what my computer's doing. But this week I just forgot to set it back. So I'm going to add another line to the pre-pod checklist.
Change playback settings or whatever it's called.
Yep.
I'm not technologically advanced, but I'm glad Jen is. I know how to run a computer, basically.
Yeah.
But that's it. Not a streamer.
And thankfully I had experience with streaming beforehand, or else, gosh, that would have been a huge learning curve.
Yeah. We already had so much to learn about podcasting, too. Can't imagine also learning that.
All right. Do you want me to play the No One Notices clip again for you, and then we can pick up from there?
Sure.
All right.
Take 2. Action.
Saved the Citadel like you, but what's the saying? Good deeds like pissing yourself in dark pants? Warm feeling, but no one notices.
It's a good saying. But I think it's a little negative. I think you should still do good deeds even if no one notices. But Jacob's kind of cynical. We'll get into that. Jacob Taylor was born in 2157 and is a talented human biotic. Did you know that? Because I didn't realize he was a biotic. We don't really know much about the years before he joined Cerberus, but he enlisted in the Alliance military and is a former Alliance Marine. He actually was there at Eden Prime when the Geth attacked in Mass Effect 1. So he's another survivor besides Ashley Williams. I don't think he was in the same unit as her, though. He resigned after 5 years in the Alliance military after the Geth attacked the Citadel in 2183 because he was disillusioned by the bureaucracy of the military. Same, Jacob. Same.
I had no clue he was involved with Eden Prime. I guess I really didn't pay attention to his dialogue. But 2183 is about the same time that the Milky Way's galaxy's most perfect ass makes her way into Jacob's life. Miranda recruits him to help her on a mission to stop terrorism, which is detailed in the mobile game Mass Effect Galaxy, which I didn't play back in the day. Basically, Batarians attack a cruise ship Jacob is vacationing on, and he happens to have his rifle. He gets to be the hero and save the day, and that's what gives him purpose again. Miranda is left impressed by Jacob, but no one else, because no one really knows what he did. He is frustrated with the lack of response to the Citadel attack in 2183, and just feels that it's another example of someone getting nothing for saving the galaxy.
I mean, you should get something for saving the galaxy, right? Like a medal or a cookie. He joins Cerberus at the urging of Miranda, who assures him that he can feel like he's actually doing something in the human organization. Jacob knows that they are basically a human supremacist group, but he chooses to believe that there is still good happening despite the space racism. This is how he ends up a part of Project Lazarus, or the project Miranda leads in Cerberus to rebuild a dead Commander Shepard in the beginning of Mass Effect 2.
During the 2 years that it took to get Shepard back up into saving the galaxy, it is heavily implied that he and Miranda had some kind of romantic relationship. But they are obviously not together when Shepard meets the both of them in Mass Effect 2. Jacob claims that he wasn't the right person for Miranda, though they remain effective colleagues, which I appreciate. It's normal to me to be friends with exes, and I like seeing that dynamic in video games. Jacob has what is called informed attractiveness, in that the narrative surrounding him is often about how people find him attractive. He's also modeled like a superhero, just like Miranda, with their comic book perfect bodies. It's no wonder they gave it a go at being a power couple.
So, fast forwarding through Shepard waking up, escaping the Cerberus base, going to Freedom's Progress, and meeting Tally again. So, we're back on the Normandy. This is where we really get to know Jacob, as he serves as the armory officer aboard the SR2. During missions, he is a calm and collected voice of reason, often siding with Shepard's decisions and trying to diffuse conflicts. He is a foil to Miranda's more harsh and renegade decisions and tactics. The only crew member he ever shows open disdain for is Thane Krios, as he believes assassins are the worst of the worst. Kind of hypocritical, given that he is essentially a gun for hire as well. Despite his hostility towards the Drell, Thane remains ever calm and collected, never once taking the bait.
I've heard impressive stories, Krios. Sounds like you'll be an asset to the team. That is, if you're comfortable having an assassin watch your back.
I've accepted a contract. My arm is Shepard's.
Uh-huh. Don't know about you, but I'm loyal to more than my next paycheck.
Not even sure why he's throwing that much shade at Thane, who literally is devoting the last few months of his life to the cause. But more on Thane in a near future episode. One of Jacob's tropes is what's known as the Knight in Sour armor. And that simply means that he's an overall good guy, but carries a lot of cynicism.
Yeah, he's kind of an asshole, as evidenced by the line we just played. He has a problem with Daddy Thane, who apparently is only loyal to a paycheck, despite never actually sending Cerberus or Shepard an itemized invoice. But he has nothing to say to Zaid, who is literally a gun for hire. Like, he mentions charging you all the time. This is one scenario where I think there was a missed opportunity for more depth to Jacob's character. He dislikes Thane, but not because Thane is an absent father, like Jacob's, but rather simply because he's an assassin. That would have made for a lovely conflict and potential resolution, as with Jack and Miranda, or Legion and Tally. But nope.
I would have loved to seen that. A fight between Jacob and Thane, and then also a scene between Morden and Grunt, like if Grunt learns more about the Genophage. It would have brought a lot more character dynamic to the entire squad, not just singling out the 3 female crew members. But back to Jacob. He's also not special, which could have been refreshing, given that literally every other companion is the best of their brand of whatever. He's just a guy. But they left it at that. He doesn't ever shine. There is an attempt at some internal conflict with Jacob, as his loyalty mission shows. Turns out Jacob has daddy issues, which is not rare in the crew of the Normandy, but Jacob's dad is an absent father. He didn't show much interest in Jacob, and then he just went missing. For the only black human crew member, that seems racially stereotyped. Ugh. Jacob's loyalty mission involves you helping him track his father's down. Jacob's loyalty mission involves you helping track his father down, whose ship, the Hugo Gernsback, went missing 10 years prior, which is personally my least favorite mission for a few different reasons. But if you want to romance Jacob, you must complete this mission.
Yeah, this mission's pretty dark. But fun fact, Hugo Gernsback is the name of the Luxembourgish American inventor of the genre of science fiction. In 1929, he made a magazine. It's a pretty cool story. Unfortunately, this mission is not super fun. When you track down the coordinates for the message Jacob received from his father, the scene you discover is disgusting. Basically, the local plant life, contains some kind of toxin that breaks down cognitive function. When the ship crashed on this planet, the officers, of which Jacob's father was first officer, or the XO, took all the food and separated the crew by sex. The men were all banished, and the women were kept as sex slaves for the remaining officers. Wow. Wow. So not only is Jacob's father absent and horrible, he's now also a pimp. Okay, really reinforcing some harmful stereotypes here.
A pimp and a harem master. Fucking yay. You fight your way up to the top of the camp and finally come face to face with Ronald Taylor, Jacob's dad. Ronald doesn't recognize his son at first and tells you some dumbass lies about how he did all of this to protect himself from the insane crew. You call bullshit and leave Jacob to reckon with his father. When you suggest that Cerberus can bring ships and rescue the remaining crew, Jacob offers this in regards to his father.
He's not worth the fuel to haul him out or the air he's breathing. He's damn lucky I don't think he's even worth pulling the trigger. I don't know who you are, because you're not any father I remember.
Oh. And this is where the trigger warning is. There is an option in this mission that involves a clear promotion of a final act of self-harm. I'll keep it brief. There are 3 potential ways you can finish this mission. You can have Ronald be arrested by Alliance officials. You can abandon him on the planet to be quickly killed at the hands of the survivors. Or have Jacob leave him a half-charged pistol so he can commit suicide. I've done all 3 options. The pistol option, though, only once. While I'm a sucker for unique dialogue, depending on which third squatty you bring, the arrest option is usually my go-to.
I think the last playthrough I did, I had the survivors deal with him, because it's definitely wrong, but also maybe they got a little closure. I don't know. The whole thing is just terrible. Like, that mission is horrible. The dad, horrible. Jacob's response is a little flat. We'll get to that. Doesn't seem as affected by what he discovered. You know, after he, when you come back, doesn't really talk about it. Just kind of like, nope, mourned my dad years ago. It's over.
Yeah. And
But
the major plot
drifting
hole.
closer. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say in the major plot hole, but that's gameplay stuff.
Yeah. But drifting closer to the romance back again, I wanted to bring up something that irks a lot of my fellow gamers as well as myself. Without any prompting, a FemShep player will immediately flirt with Jacob, even going back to the first conversation with him aboard the Normandy. She's very, very flirty, FemShep, with Jacob off the bat. I don't know why the writers tried to shoehorn this romance in, especially given that in the next game, when you have James Vega being a bit too friendly, you can shut him down. You can tell him you don't want to be called Lola, you don't want him flirting, be professional, etc. And James Vega responds accordingly. He's like, all right. But you can't really shut down Jacob because you start the flirting, and it's very much reciprocated.
Yeah, you look like you came through no worse for wear.
If nothing else, the Alliance trains their people well. Once you live that life, you can't sit around getting fat. Most of us didn't get a Cerberus rebuild. They outdid themselves with you. Ask for any upgrades?
Anything wrong with the current packaging, Jacob? It's not original, but I make do.
Nothing any sane person would complain about, Shepard. Seems like you know that too. Commander, I mean.
I feel like it's a little bit of a throwback to when Caden and Ashley switch away from calling you Commander to when they start calling you Shepard. And it's also like Jennifer Hale sounds extremely flirty in these clips. Like, she's laying it on thick. And I mean, if that's what the route that you're going to romance Jacob, you want to be heavily flirtatious. But if you're not going to, the heavily suggestive voice when I'm just trying to get to know my crewmates, it's like, no. But
Yeah. I wish they would have given you an option, but they didn't. So that kind of sucks.
time to get into the thick of it with Jacob. Jacob is arguably the least liked companion out of the entire Mass Effect trilogy, including the DLC characters of Kasumi and Zaid. Jacob is unfortunately a rather boring character, which is layman's term for a character without depth or conflict. The boring squad in the Mass Effect universe, according to the internet's general opinion, is made up of Kaidan, Vega, and of course Jacob. However, Kaidan and James both have fan bases, especially Kaidan. But not Jacob. In fact, Kasumi seems to be the only person who actually likes Jacob. Unless, of course, you romance him as a femshep.
Mm-hmm. The main problem with Jacob is that it's almost impossible to connect with him. When you ask him about his time with the Corsairs, he just says that life is behind him. When you ask him about his past with Miranda, he won't spill any tea. And especially after his loyalty mission, I touched on this earlier, and you ask about his dad, he won't talk about it. He doesn't need to mourn his dad because he mourned him a long time ago. How are we supposed to connect to this man who doesn't want to open up?
Through romance, of course. But before we dive headfirst into his washboard abs, let's take a quick mid-break where you'll hear about the sponsors of our show and some fun facts. Mid-break.
Insert ads. All right, we're back with some fun facts. Jacob is notable in that he is the only character other than Joker and Arya to reference the elusive man's creepy eyes, asking, "Is there anything human in them?" His eyes always creeped me out too. They seem very obviously not right.
Right? I think on my first playthrough, I thought maybe it was the planet being reflected back onto his eyes, and so that's why they looked weird. But then I'm like, wait, no, even when you're not looking at it, your eyes are still jacked up.
Yeah, and then the end when he's like, "Oh, he's been indoctrinated." Like, that's supposed to be a surprise? He's looked insane this entire time.
Right?
But, oh well. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Oh. We've already spoiled alert twice today. We're good. According to cinematic animator Jonathan Cooper, Jacob was pre-visualized as a male-male romance, with his scene matching shot for shot with certain sequences from Brokeback Mountain. However, the animating team were told America isn't ready for it. And that's a big fuck you.
That's a lie. America is super ready for that, I think. But we'll never know how a romance with him and Brosheb would have gone. Sad, sad time.
Kind of really want to know, though.
I know. I guess all we have to do is watch Brokeback Mountain and just imagine Brosheb and Jacob Taylor off in the mountains herding sheep, living in a tent together.
Oh. Please don't. Derail. Okay. Back online so that way we can thank our patrons. We do have special patrons to talk about. Of course, as always, to Apollo, thank you for always being here, talking in the live chat, supporting the girls. We thank you very, very much. And to Toasty, who is beast mode bestie. I love you, and you know this. And brand new, as of today, Meiji Moose has joined the Patreon, and I am here for it. He's a great streamer. He's also been streaming Horizon Zero Dawn, so you should go watch him play. Okay. Let's get back.
Zero Dawn or Forbidden West?
So he was doing Zero Dawn before Forbidden West came out, just to kind of like go through it another playthrough. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, patrons. We appreciate you and all of your monetary support and commenting support and viewership support and just general support in general. We like it. I'm very happy when I see people enjoying what we're doing. Because it's a lot of work and we have fun doing it, but it's also more fun to see other people enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. It's the best.
So thanks. Hmm.
Okay. Let's get back and learn more about the good thing Jacob and Shepard got going on.
Look at this. Like sneaking into the captain's quarters. Heavy risk, but the prize.
Your face.
I can't. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I've never once romanced Jacob, but it would almost be worth it just to hear that line. It's so funny. Like, why did he say it like 70s porn, you know? But the prize.
But the prize.
Oh my gosh. We need to post that link to that video I sent you. Someone made like this remix years ago of that line, and it's amazing. And I just discovered it because I never once Googled Jacob until very recently. So I never saw it. Speaking of the prize, let's get into the romance culmination scene in Mass Effect 2. Just like every romance in Mass Effect 2, it occurs right before you go through the Omega 4 relay. The heavy flirting Shepard and Jacob have been doing, building up the sexual tension, well, it's about to be released. When Jacob makes his appearance in Shepard's quarters, she asks him what his intentions are, very seductively, I might add. He responds with this literotica-worthy line.
To give the collectors every kind of hell I can. Suicide or not. But until then, I want all the time I can get. Win. Lose. It doesn't matter. I want you.
Oh. Okay, the prize line gets you, but that I want you? Holy shit, dude. And now, I completely get it. Sneaking into the commander's room and not knowing if it was a good idea? It's kind of cute. I don't know what it is, but there's a sweetness to it that I wasn't expecting. Maybe it's the tone of voice, or maybe it was the body language. The physical romance, if you push your way into it, is pretty damn good. They really went all out on the human romances. There is the kissing of the neck. Like, Jacob really gets into it. And then, damn, we see Jacob take off his shirt. And holy abs, Batman, I am here for it. Kasumi, girl, I get it now. And then we see Shep take control. She moves him towards the bed, and then a slight disappointment. Jacob has no ass. Like, it's flat. He obviously works on his body. Why wouldn't he be doing squats too? But yes, this is a great scene. Walking backward, being led by Shepard, Jacob bumps into the bed and is shoved back. And then cue the BioWare body crawl. Shep makes her way up Jacob's body, and while it's tamer than the crawls we saw in Mass Effect 1, it is still good. We get a few moments of Shepard straddling Jacob and a quick makeout session before it fades to black. Honestly, overall, I think this is the second best physical romance scene I've seen in Mass Effect 2. There is some drama, some power play, a great example of the male physique. If there had been a little bit more movement around the room, or a little more of the power play on the bed, it would have bumped up my score. But I give Commander Femshep and Jacob a solid 8 out of 10.
A nice rating. Let's get to the emotional stuff now. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised when I say that this is a rather shitty romance. I really like his voice, what he says. Cute, cute stuff. I'm just, in my rating, I'm also taking into consideration Mass Effect 3 because, spoiler alert, it ends. The romance. Always, no way around it. I respect the work narrative designers do, and I actually think that Jacob is a very realistic romance, if not a good one. So I don't want to shit all over the writing team. It would be a little too happily ever after if all romance options ended up happily ever after, right? Like I said, spoilers. But Jacob cheats on you and ends up falling for another ex-Cerberus member and knocking her up. His greatest goal in life at that point is to not be the type of father he had. Great. Good for you, Jacob. This is realistic because, let's face it, Jacob is the average Joe of the Normandy. So out of every romanceable character, he's just the most likely to be the cheater. But that is a bold move for a studio to have a romance option cheat on the player character. And like I said, narratively, there's no way around it. The romance always ends in Mass Effect 3. He says he couldn't wait for you, even though he literally only spent 6 months apart from you. I find that gross. My husband has deployed 1,000,000 times for longer than that, and I did not run off and get pregnant by some rando. And people do that, and then we all say, wow, that was shitty. Same here. Sorry, not sorry, Jacob. That was wrong to do to someone you supposedly love. He is the only romance option in Mass Effect 2 that actually says, I love you, and then he does that. Retain your dignity, and end it before you start up something new. His reasoning for not waiting is also pretty shitty. During those 6 months, Shepard is literally arrested. Garrus heads up the Reaper Task Force. Liara is doing Secret Squirrel Shadow Broker stuff, etc., on and on. Not Jacob. He says he quit Cerberus, quit everything, went and sat on the beach in the Mediterranean to think about stuff, and that's when he lost track of Shepard, quote unquote. So he went to the beach and ghosted Commander Shepard while she was in a military prison and then cheated on her with an ex-coworker. Shall I write the telenovela? It writes itself. When prodded about what he learned on his vacay, he says,
That what I choose to fight for better mean something to me. That it comes from the heart.
oh, I didn't hear it. That was weird.
Oh, that's because I muted my mic, and so that didn't work. All right, let's try that again.
That what I choose to fight for better mean something to me. That it comes from the heart.
Oh, comes from the heart. This shouldn't be surprising, coming from a character who's emotionally a lost little boy. He's been trying to find his purpose well before we ever meet him. And it turns out his purpose is to be a father and settle down. And that's cute for your average Joe. But it's honestly not enough for our main character life. He also is emotionally immature. He blames Shepard for his cheating, saying that she couldn't expect him to wait. But if you break things off with him openly and honestly in Mass Effect 2 to pursue another romance, he'll throw a tantrum that he masks as harsh professionalism. This is what he says to you if you tell him you want to romance Garrus instead.
That Cuttlebone?
I suppose you have a history. That's usually enough. All right, Shepard. You want to pretend this makes it okay? I can do that. A nice official wall.
Yeah. So the history makes it easy? Yeah, okay. Let's talk in 6 months when you cheat on me with your ex-coworker. Gross calling Garrus what sounds like a weak attempt at a slur. I'm going to pretend that Jacob isn't a romance option because I'm not convinced that anyone actually romances him. If Kai Lang didn't exist, I'd probably think Jacob was the worst character in Mass Effect, the trilogy, not Andromeda, because Andromeda is definitely PB. She sucks ass. I give him a 3 out of 10. He only gets a 3 because his romance is flirty and seems sincere in Mass Effect 2. But seeing as how it ends in Mass Effect 3, it's just not good. I included the end in Mass Effect 3 because we're not obviously going to do an episode for him for that game because there's nothing to talk about. He ends it. Yeah, sorry. I want more from Jacob, and they just didn't give it to us.
Oh, okay. A lot to digest there. Okay. What I want to know is for anybody who played Mass Effect Mass Effect 2 when it first came out, and if they romanced Jacob, what their opinion was. Because if you don't take into account the things that happen in 3, would that change your opinion if you only knew what happens in 2? I also
I only knew what happened in 2, it would totally change my opinion. But because we're so far, these games came out like 10 years ago now, so I have to take the whole story into consideration. But at the time, if I had just played 2, never played 3, I think it'd be a pretty sweet romance. Like I said, he's the only person to say I love you in that second game. Like, he seems very sincere at first. There's not much depth, but he's sweet. Stable seeming, right?
okay. Also the Cuttlebone line, that's a good one. I know that it's a slur, but it's well thought out and it's pretty funny. A Cuttlebone is the thing that you put in a bird cage, so that way birds can gnaw on it and their beak doesn't grow too far. So Garrus being an avian type creature, Cuttlebone is kind of funny to me.
I know, but is he eating himself? Like, because I think birds also eat cuttlebone. Like, there's nutrition, like some mineral in there that they need. I once, long story short, wanted a budgie, and I made a PowerPoint presentation to my mom when I was a kid, telling her why I should have a budgie. And I vaguely remember that there's some mineral in there that they need, but I could be wrong. I also did not get a budgie, so didn't work. My mom had a budgie, so she knew that she didn't want that again.
Sunrise in chat says it's a good source of calcium for them. So yes, it is. Oh my, wow.
Well, I guess if you date Garrus, then you don't need to take a multivitamin.
You're not supposed to ingest anything, Turian.
That's true. We're allergic to that calcium. All right, Jacob. I'm trying to understand that slur, but I can't. So next.
Okay. Wow. I think this is only like the second time we've completely split our reviews so differently.
This is the
Yeah.
first time where your score was high and mine was low.
True.
It's been the reverse,
Yep.
like with Garrus, unfortunately.
And then we disagreed on Morrigan. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I think she's a better friend, but that's just for her health. Also, Jacob, obviously. Anybody, he cheated, and the reason that he cheated, I think if I were trying to analyze it, it's because he doesn't have a purpose and he hasn't had like stability. He's kind of hopped around, like he flirted. Pretty much everyone finds Jacob attractive, and they've mentioned it, and he seems to have like a history because they kind of inform me about that. And he went somewhere safe with this woman that he knew already, and then I would speculate that the pregnancy was an accident by the way he talks about it, but that seems to be the very thing that made him realize, like, oh, I can settle down, I can be the man I wanted my dad to be, and that like gives him a purpose, and that's what he was looking for. And Commander Shepard just wasn't the right person for him. So, I think he just was confused. And that's definitely not the right thing to do. You shouldn't do that, obviously, but he wasn't in a good headspace, so he did a bad thing. He's not a bad person. It kind of sucks.
Yeah. I agree. Oh. Okay. Well, that, lovely listeners, is where we would usually end our show. But for this episode, we have a special guest. We are excited to sit down with fellow video game nerd, artist extraordinaire, and overall wonderful human. Please welcome Let's Not.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Let's Not designed our logo that you see.
Mhm.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Yay. Hi. Yes, I can see your boys.
My boys, my beautiful boys. Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Really excited to sit down and chat with you on this one because switching from all the different places.
It's not like we haven't been having this conversation for the past like 3 months
It's true.
in preparation for this episode.
Well, officially, hello and welcome to the show. Can you let us know your preferred name on the internet and your pronouns?
I go by several different aliases online. Mostly Let's Not. My pronouns are she, they. Yeah. I'm Sunrise Parabellum in chat.
Oh wait,
I didn't know that was you.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's
Yay!
me.
It's me. Let's not. Okay, good. Well,
no. She's
Jen,
not.
I just see you laughing, so it made me laugh.
I know, right? It's because there's let's not and then let's not because you've got like 2 accounts under the one name, right?
Yeah. And there's 2 different Let's Nots on Twitter because I forgot which one was me originally. So there's one with 5 L's, there's one with 6 L's. It's
Ooh.
you know, you're young when you make your preferred username, and I just kind of stuck with it.
That's true. I've had Vervada for probably 20 years almost.
Ooh.
Yeah. Can't get rid of it now. Got a podcast and all.
It's my brand now.
Yeah. So first question, we talked about a lot of things with Jacob. Did you learn anything new? Was there anything that we missed? Things that would have brought more depth to the romance? What's your thoughts on that?
One thing that I would point out, like just immediately from listening to the podcast, was it's so interesting how like your least favorite scene is one of my favorites, and it's just based on context of who you talk to. Because when I did my Jacob romance for the first time, never done Jacob. It was like I did Thane my very first playthrough, and then from the next point on did Garrus every other time. So this is my first Jacob, and the scene where you can like cut off the romance, and he gives you like a reason you suck speech. Yours was like that because you dumped him for Garrus. If you dump him and you haven't talked to anyone else, he actually goes on this like kind of long tirade, not a tirade like specifically, but he's just like, you know, people like you can convince anyone to follow you anywhere. It's like a reason of loyalty. Have you ever thought that maybe the problem is you? Because Jacob's romance, the thing that I disliked about it the most was Femshep has to push him so far to even initiate it because he's like not interested. Like you can flirt once or twice, like at the very beginning, but when you actually go into like trying to get his romance, he constantly tells Femshep, like, I'm not really interested like that. Like, I want to keep my mind on the mission, blah, 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 blah. And every time you're just like, well, I want this, so we're going to keep talking about it. And he's just like, fine. And eventually you kind of like break him down. And so, like, at that point, Jacob, he's finally got to the point where he's like, okay, we have this thing going. I'm fine with it. And then you can turn around and be like, actually, I want to focus on the mission, which was his exact reason why he didn't want to get in with you in the first place. And so he gives this really, like, kind of, I don't know, like, I just really like that scene because it made so much sense. Then he punches a table and he loses me. but up to that point, it's like, I fully understand his anger right now.
Yeah, it seems like they made him the way that they made Miranda, which is like whatever they thought the ideal man would be for a cishet woman player. Like he's super sexually attractive, and when you do flirt with him, he lays it on so thick, like way more intense flirting than anyone else. So I feel like they like objectified Jacob the way they objectified Miranda, kind of. Although Miranda doesn't flirt the same way. She's just like physically beautiful and perfect, right? But Jacob is like I don't know, is he supposed to be somebody's like dream man? Because I want more emotional availability. But also I never saw that scene with him if you don't date anyone else. The only one I ever saw come up was the one where you were leaving him for Garrus, basically, and he just was flipping his lid about it,
Mhm.
which is understandable because at that point, kind of leading him on.
Yeah. Um, BioWare really like dropped the ball on Jacob, and it's like I actually am one of the few people that like Jacob, not as like a romance option, but in the games, I much prefer like his friendship with Shepard because they have this nice camaraderie that just comes about between two like-minded soldiers. And well, like my femshep is always black, and so like seeing the only other black character in the game, like as a squad mate, we had like this kind of friendship with him that I always really appreciated. Um, and it's weird. Like I I've kind of come to the point where I can't blame Jacob for his actions in 3, which is like insane because it's so obviously BioWare decided this. And it's like the Jacob in 2, I don't think would do what Jacob in 3 did. And I don't know why they decided to do that with him, especially having him be there. At Genesis and I checked this before, and I can't remember like how the timelines worked up. But Jacob was BioWare's very first black romance. I think the next one came in 2011, so like right after Jacob. So it's like your very first black romance character, and then this is how you decide to treat him. Like it doesn't like slip my mind that the reason he breaks up with you is because he knocked up another woman after being like out of eyesight with you for 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is officially what they did, but when I was doing research for this episode, I read so many basically, articles just trying to speculate on it, saying that they feel that because he wasn't that popular of a character in 2, that they just kind of were like, write him out, and they did it like the worst, shittiest way ever. Sorry, BioWare, overall great studio, obviously, but they definitely mishandled Jacob. Like they didn't do him justice at all, which is a bummer. And that was another question we wanted to ask you that I'm sure you have a lot to say about, because this is something that also came up time and time again during my research. Was you mentioned he's the only black squad mate in Mass Effect. I mean, Captain Anderson is technically, he's not a squad mate, but he is a black person in the game, but he's not really that present. And so Jacob is really like the one character, unless your player character is also black, he's the one character that you see. And then they kind of, whether intentional or not, did some shitty stereotyping and black representation. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I want to believe with my whole heart that they did not do this intentionally, but unfortunately, because again, I would have to check like the credits and stuff, but the likelihood there was another black person in the writers' room for Jacob is like incredibly low. And so unless they had like a sensitivity coach or like a diversity, someone on the team to like look at this and say, hey, actually, can we like back this up a little bit and work on him a little bit more? It wasn't there, and it's really disappointing that so many people just straight up hate him because of choices that BioWare did that they didn't make for any other character and haven't done for any other character since. I mean, like Solus in Inquisition, spoilers, he breaks up with the Inquisitor, but never anything to that effect. Like at least with Solus, it works with his character, and it matters to the story. Jacob's character could have been completely rewritten and it wouldn't have changed anything. Like, I don't know. It's very disappointing. Also, he's the only romance option in Mass Effect that I can think of, other than like Caden or Ashley, but they technically don't count, where you can like physically assault them in the romance, because in your Citadel meetup in the DLC, you can just straight up slap Jacob in the face. Because, I mean, in character, in world, it makes sense why she would do that. But, like, if you step back a sec, like, why have you written it so that your femshep can just slap a, I don't know.
I will say that Jack does slap a male Shepard.
But male Shepard does not slap Jack, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So yeah, it's really disappointing how they handled him because I think his friendship, just like a platonic Jacob, I think he's an interesting character. Not interesting, just kind of like a good friend to Shepard, basically.
He has a ton of potential, and that's the thing, is like the problem people have with him isn't really his fault as a character. It's just the way they handled it. And it's interesting when you compare to Solus, because whether you love or hate Solus, he made such a big impact on the story. And despite, because I was someone who romanced Solus, and there are so many people out there who view that romance as the canon for Inquisition.
Mhm.
Like there's no other way to experience Inquisition than romancing Solus, despite the fact that he dumps you. Like that's not a very good romance, right? Like you get 2 scenes, I think you kiss him twice, there's no sex at all. Realistically, that's not a very satisfying romance, I guess, for most people. And yet they love him. And then we have Jacob, who's really not that different. You actually do get to have sex with him. And then people are like, he's the worst character in Mass Effect. I couldn't tell you how many video essays I found on YouTube even of how he's the worst squad mate ever. And, they can make convincing arguments about it because of the way that he was written and handled. He doesn't have much depth, which is a bummer.
Mhm.
Like he has a lot of potential, and it's kind of sucks that we don't ever really get to know him that well. And the voice actor, can't remember his name, but he did such a good job with his voice. That line that in the prize, it makes me laugh,
Mhm.
but otherwise, like his voice is very, very good, and
Mhm.
that's why it could have been such a good romance because he sounds so genuine and sweet.
Yeah. Back to something you had said in the earlier podcast with Vega. Um, Going back to the way that BioWare treated Jacob versus how they treated other characters, like your femshep can have just like a flirtatious thing with both of the characters, regardless of if Vega does it as well, because you can like say, "Hey, back off." But in that scenario, you can keep pushing like you do with Jacob. You can like, I don't remember the line specifically, but you can kind of like, what, you don't want to mess around with the commander, and he like sets up a boundary. He's like, no, I would rather not. Same exact thing happens in 2 with Jacob, except if you like, there is no option. Or what? Hold on, sorry. If you do his romance, it's the same thing, but you keep pushing him past his boundaries, and it's. I wonder if they made Vega the way they did because they realized in 2, like, oh, that's actually kind of terrible. I don't think that's what they did because of, again, how they treated him later, but
They made Vega worse in a way because you can literally sexually assault him. Like in Citadel, you basically
Yeah.
get him drunk and sleep with him, and then he immediately regrets it and leaves, and it's super horrible to watch. Like, I don't know what they were thinking.
yeah,
That can't even be called a romance. It is so wrong.
where
Oh.
it does its best, but when it comes to their POC characters, it's not really. They haven't hit it yet. They did better with Liam and Andromeda, at least.
Yeah.
There was another. Oh, sorry, Genesis. You gonna say something?
No, I was like, because I love Liam. Liam was my romance in Andromeda. So I think that they started going in the right direction. But I don't think that they completely got there yet.
One of the other things that I found myself liking Jacob's romance the more that I played it, because when Genesis asked me like, "Hey, do you want to be on the podcast?" I said, "Oh yeah, I would like to be on the Garrus episode, please." And she said, "No," because we're doing that one. And I said, "Oh okay," and then she was like, "Well, someone's already doing the Thane one too," and I said, "Okay, who's left? Jacob? Fine, I'll do Jacob. No problem. I can have some ideas." And so I was like dreading it the entire time. But then I actually started playing it, and I found myself actually really enjoying it. And it has one of my favorite things that they do in 3. In 2, I had never seen this before. Jacob actually like asks Shepard how they're dealing with things, and that doesn't happen until 3 usually. Like your squad mates can come up to you and like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And you have the option of being like, "Oh, I'm fine," and just brushing it off, or you can actually give them some insight on how you are. And in all my playthroughs, that never happened until we actually got into the big Reaper War. But Jacob, it's one of those things again where you're like pushing his boundary. He says he doesn't want to talk about his dad, and you can be like, well, but how are you really dealing with it? And he said, I mean, I'm fine, but let's turn it around on you. How are you doing? And Shepard hasn't the option to be completely honest with him. And I screen capped it. I had all the options on the thing. It was like, you have the option to say, or no, my brain is running too fast. I apologize. So his line is, so Shepard, how about we turn it around? What are you carrying and what do you need to get rid of? So you can either say loneliness, nothing, none of your business, or on the other side, in like the high Paragon Renegade side, you can say that you're dealing with survivor's guilt, or you can say that you're dealing with the burden of command. And something I had always, in my Shepard at least, I always felt that my Shepard should be allowed to feel a little bit more bitter about their station in their place in the universe, because they were just kind of like thrust upon, you are now the most important person, and if you fail, that's it, that's the ball game. And so if you pick the burden of command option, you can just be honest and be like, I didn't ask for all of this to be on my head, and if I fail, it's over. And then he kind of like reassures you, and it's like, you every time, what does he say? It's like every time you go into battle, you're making that decision to fight for everybody else or something like that. And it's just like a moment for Shepard to be honest and vulnerable that they don't get with most of the other romances, which I really appreciated.
Because we've talked about it before about how you can get all of your squad mates to open up to you, and especially in 2 and in 3, you can really dive into who they are, where their emotions are at, but you don't really get to know where Shepard is at until near the end of Mass Effect 3, like after some of the nightmare scenes, and then you can choose to lie about what your status is at, like where you are mentally. But knowing that Jacob is able to pull that out of you 6 months before Liara can, or Garrus or whoever else you're talking to, that brings a little bit more to him.
I think that was the dialogue where it really turned me around. It's like, oh, there's more to this than I had ever really given him credit for.
Yeah, I think he should have anyway. He seems like he has a lot of empathy, because like Jen said, no one really talks about, and Shepard just seems way too balanced throughout all these crazy, like every single game at that time in the game, they're like, this is potentially world ending, like this is life or death. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like this, the Citadel's gonna die, humans are gonna die, everyone's gonna die. That's how it goes. And Shepard just like, la-di-da, I'm doing my thing. And like, I mean, Garrus does ask, like you said, in Mass Effect 3, if you romance him. And I think all the romance options do this very much towards the end. So it's nice to hear that Jacob did it a lot earlier. Everyone else is, I mean, it kind of just feels like you're just solving everyone's problems. Like the loyalty missions are a great way to get closer to characters. But it also kind of feels like you're the mom, or you're like the office manager just trying to put out everyone's fires, and meanwhile nobody's asking how you're doing, I guess, except Jacob. Just a bummer. Like I know I said in the episode that he's one of my most disliked characters, but it's not because I hate Jacob as a person. I just don't like the way that they dealt with him. He's too tropey. That's the reason I don't like Kai Lang. Like Kai Lang feels like he's a character from a completely different game. He doesn't feel like he's part of Mass Effect at all. He's so ridiculous, like this supervillain guy. I mean, he's not a romance option, so we'll probably never talk about him really, but he's so stereotypically bad. It's inane, so I don't really like it, and that's why I don't like Jacob either, just because he could have been good. He could have been really good.
If I can find Saren Mancers on the internet, I'm pretty sure I can find a Kai Lang shipper.
Well, please don't.
Yeah, if you dive deep enough, I'm sure And you might not even have to dive that deep, as far as I know. I'm sure you just go to like Archive of Our Own or fanfic.net, and there's
I have
probably a
found
bunch of Kyling.
I have found Harbinger X Shepherd, so you can find literally anything.
Rule 34.
Yep. And if there isn't one, there's probably a mod for it. Rule 43. Oh. Kind of like digesting and brain processing all of this because, and it's like, and especially because Let's Not and I have talked, you know, a couple on voice chats and things like that throughout the last couple of weeks while she was doing her playthrough. And I liked seeing the shift of, I don't even think that I really want to do this. I'm just going to YouTube the video to, okay, no, I'm going to do the playthrough. I'm going to experience it completely to, wait a minute, I'm actually really starting to like this romance to now they fucked it up.
I mean, I always knew they messed it up. It's just they messed it up in 3. In 2, it's honestly, I think it's really good. Can you not? We talked about this.
More kitties on stream. Yay.
So how would you have preferred they end it in Mass Effect 3? Or not even end it? Like, what would you have done with Jacob as a romance in 3?
You know, that's hard because unless it's a character who becomes, ow, my cat is taking my cord. Can you not? It's weird, the Mass Effect 2 romances that transfer over into 3, I don't like as much unless they are squad mates, because it kind of feels wasted, because the romance is, for me at least, such a big part of the Mass Effect experience. Like having your squad mate, like watching your back the whole time, and you're also like kind of falling in love with them. It's like to not have them there with you kind of feels like wasted time, which is why I've always done Garrus, and then like Caden, Garrus, and then Garrus again, because you just have that kind of like emotional through line with it. It's like, yeah, you would have this person with you at all times if you're in this kind of situation. I don't know what I would do about Jacob and 3. I wouldn't do what they did. I would not have chosen that plot line. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Also, my only experience with Jacob's romance is a vastly different world state than my normal canon playthroughs, because I kind of just sped through Mass Effect 2, and I didn't like transfer a 1 playthrough over. So what the game decided I had done in 1 was so much worse than anything I actually would have done. So I didn't really care so much about the consequences leading through, and so there's a couple of beloved squad mates who did not make it past 2.
She was evil and horrible and made me experience way too many things that I never wanted to have in my mind. But
it's blame Cloudy Alice, because she was the arbiter of most of my worst decisions. She was the one who told me to put Garrus and Thane in the vents in the suicide mission. Do not put that on me. But yeah, a couple of our good friends did not make the trip back. I did it for you, Jacob.
No. Oh. All right. So do you agree with our ratings for the night? Me giving the physical aspect of their relationship an 8, and V giving the overall relationship a 3.
I actually, in my head, gave the physical one an exact 8 as well, so there you go. I don't know. The emotional... Jacob is so closed off emotionally, but that's just kind of like him. He says up front with Shepard he would rather this not become like a long-term, like a super deep emotional thing. So he's up front with you. I would give it like a 4 or 5 on the emotion, probably closer to 4, honestly. because he does make that turn into 2, like where he does end up saying the L word, and then going into 3, that doesn't happen. Which Bryn, I found this out today because I didn't have time to finish my Mass Effect 3 playthrough with Jacob, so I just watched a video. Bryn says, when you confront her, you can ask her like, "Hey, what's going on between you two?" She's like, "Listen, he's still in love with you, but he's with me now, so back off." And then the Shepard is like, "What? Okay." And then you go to talk to Jacob, and then in one of the dialogue options, he turns into a Disney villain, where Shepard is like, "What happened with us?" or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, Shepard, if only it could have been you," which is like almost straight up what Han says in Frozen when he betrays Anna, which is like crazy. It's like, does he really, like, when that doesn't feel loving? Even if you are in the middle of a bad breakup, that doesn't feel right. So
I also want to know the timeline, because Jacob goes back to Earth while Shepard is on Earth. Like, that's how he spends time in the Mediterranean. And then he goes out to the Cerberus base. And so, like, Shepard was only on Earth for like 6 months. And Bryn is already very pregnant to the point where if they can find out the gender of the baby, right? They find that out. Do they?
I think he just says, we're having a baby and she wants to name it Shepard. I can check. I think I have it.
I think
I don't
they
remember.
say they're having a girl, but I don't remember exactly.
That actually sounds right.
Yeah, my thing is I have been pregnant. I have had a child, and with technology now, they can test that through blood at 10 weeks.
Okay.
So I imagine that in Mass Effect times, they'd be able to find that out a lot sooner. However soon science permits, in Mass Effect science universe. So maybe she wasn't as pregnant as we might be today to find out the gender, or the sex, I should say. But
time is kind of weird in Mass Effect games, because it's like, it feels like one continuous day just by the way that the map and the world works, but like weeks and months could be passing and you just don't know about it. So between the time when he sees you at the Cerberus base and the time he sees you on the Citadel in Huerta Memorial, it could have been however many weeks where they would have found out. I don't know.
I think it's fair to say that any of their romances could have been just due to stress. Like Mordin says, humans relieve stress through sex. I think it's very fair to say that it was not a serious thing necessarily. Like, even if he said, "I love you," it could just be, "I love you right now." It doesn't have to be like, "I love your soul. I love everything about you." Like, how deep could that relationship have been anyway during that very emotional time? It's really, any of them could just be defined as an infatuation for the one game, because it's such a short time period under such extreme circumstances. So I think it's fair to say that it could have just been for now. I think the shitty thing was, the reason my rating was a 3 is really just because of how he ends it with you. Yeah. Like, not how he is in 2. I think that is really, it's especially when you ask him about it, and he's like, "I was just chilling on the beach, and then I thought about things, and then I saw Bryn, and I couldn't wait for you forever." So it's like, how long is your forever, Jacob? Because it was only 6 months. Like, yeah. I mean, that whole thing just was stupid. So I didn't like that at all. But I can totally see it not being deep, and him just being like, "You know what? That was just a fling because I thought I was going to die in the collector base," you know?
It's so much better if you just see it as that, if you treat it like that the entire playthrough. Unfortunately, the game doesn't let Shepard have that kind of reaction, because even the Renegade lines, when he's like, "I don't want to push this too far," you still kind of have to say, "But I do, so we're doing it," which is unfortunate.
I don't like that either.
I think, and I hope that they handle romances between like cishet women and men better in the future, because especially for Mass Effect, those, other than Kaidan, honestly, like, I mean, I want to count Garrus and stuff, but he's like not a human. So just thinking about the human only romances.
Mhm.
Other than Caden, I think the other human male romances with FemShep are not that good. Like
Yeah.
they just don't handle them very well. So
Yeah.
who's the other ones besides like human?
For the
There's
humans,
Caden, James, Jacob for
that
FemShep. I mean, I think that's it.
that's it. Yeah, of humans.
Yeah. And like FemShep
And Vega's not even
pressures
really an
Jacob into
option.
romance, sexually assaults James Vega. Caden's like the only good one. Like
'Cause
they have a
he's the
cute
white one.
relationship.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
if you follow threads in Mass Effect, sometimes you start to see where they connect, and then you no longer want to
Yeah.
see how they connect.
And he is, I would say he's technically white. Everyone thinking he is Singaporean. No, he was just born there. He's supposedly Ukrainian. So given his last name is a
Mhm.
Ukrainian last name. So yeah. He's white.
Oh, Mass Effect. I love you, but do better. Sometimes, just do a little better.
I know. It feels like I don't want people to get upset with us because BioWare obviously is like the gold standard for video game romances and honestly for representation of various romances too. You know, like nobody else was doing that before they did it. So they are a very good foundation, but that doesn't mean you have a whole house. So
Hmm.
they have stuff they could still build on.
all right. Any final thoughts or anything that you want to add about Jacob?
Trying to think. We've been talking about it for so long. I'm trying to remember what points I've brought up. No, I think I'm good. Kitty.
Yes, Maya is here. She's been actually on my lap the whole time. All right then. Let's go to the end. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to leave a review on iTunes or give us a rating on Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find me in our Two Girls One Ship chat on the Robots Radio Discord channel, and come give us a follow on all the social medias and on Patreon at Two Girls One Ship. Links to those are in the description.
Sorry, I was muted. I was like, oh no, unmute. I'm on the Robots Radio Discord as well. Also, be sure to check out our live stream, Twitch and YouTube, on Fridays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Our podcast episodes release on Mondays because you all need at least one good thing on a Monday. Check out the description for all links if you're interested.
All right. And how can our listeners reach out to you? Are you flexible with that?
What? I am on.
Just throwing a Garrus reference in there as usual.
Sorry, the Discord cut out a little bit, and then I just heard flexible. What's happening? I'm
You
on
got anything? Oh, sorry.
You're good. I'm on the Robots Radio Discord. Let's Not with 6 L's, and on Twitch I am Sunrise Parabellum, Sunrise_Parabellum. I'm streaming a couple games right now. I'm doing Disco Elysium, Hades, and Outer Wilds. I'm having a great time, so you should come by and check it out.
And she also likes to swing around in
Yay.
the dungeon too.
Yeah, Genesis has ruined me.
Maybe I should get Boyfriend Dungeon.
Everyone get Boyfriend Dungeon.
Boyfriend
It's
dungeon.
it's weirdly pretty good.
I know the premise sounds ridiculous, but apparently it's amazing, so I can't wait to experience it.
Listen, I love a hack and slash. I love a hack and slash game. If it had just been a visual novel, I probably would have bounced off it, but gotta get me in there.
Mhm.
Get in the dunge.
Get in the dunge.
Oh,
But announcement for our live stream viewers. Next week we won't have a live stream. Sorry. It's a week where an interview episode's coming out. And announcement for our listeners before we go. look out for an exciting episode featuring an interview with a very cool person and games writer coming out on March 14th.
Thanks for listening. And remember,
Beauty is in the eye of the controller.
yay!
And Finn.
Scene.
I stopped recording.
Okay. Night, Yuri. Oh my gosh, chat has been blowing up as usual. I was trying to follow along, but then there was like a whole bunch of weird stuff about what Apollo's name is.
Bummer.
And I will
I
also
missed out
agree.
on all of it.
Aw, your phone's dead, so you can't
Sorry.
look at chat.
Yeah, well, probably not dead anymore. It was on the charger, but it was.
I will
One too
also
many
say that the
TikToks.
first time I saw Apollo's name, I also read it as Fap Apollo. And I was
Gross.
like, what the fuck?
Unfortunate.
And
See, I
then
read
was-
PF because my mind went to private first class, like PFC. So PF Apollo, like that just felt right. So I was like, oh, PF Apollo.
mine went
Fap
to
Apollo.
fapping, and that's
Yeah.
what I saw. Yep.
I saw as bad as at work. Everyone kept talking about this software that we apparently use called GIMP. And I
Oh.
was like, what?
No. Oh, no.
And my boss was like, wait, what are you whatting about? I'm like, first of all, don't Google it on the work computer, but maybe you should Google what that is. Why did they name it that? It's an acronym. They could have named it anything else. Like, why would they do that? I'm not going to think
chaos.
of that software when I hear GIMP, okay? That's not what I think of, because I played one too many, oh gosh, what were those games called? They were like more extreme Grand Theft Autos. Saints Row.
Saints Row.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's where I learned what GIMP is.
Ah, yes.
There's one mission in particular that I remember where you're like in a pony race. That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
One of these
I
days
remember
I'll
once
have to
when I
show
was-
you my stuff.
Once when I was a kid. Genesis Go, your
Okay.
podcast.
No, I was gonna say I needed to correct myself on that because I was like, one of these days I'll have to show you my stuff. And specifically, I have Saints Row like fun gear. I have the Sonic button. I have the DJ gun, and it still plays music after all these years. And then I was like, I should probably
Wow.
clarify that I don't have GIMP stuff around my house.
I was gonna say once in like middle school, I had $30, which was like, whoa, $30. And I went to my uncle and I was like, hey, I have $30. I want to buy a game. Should I get Skyrim or Saints Row? And he just looked at me and he's like, under no circumstance should you be playing Saints Row. And I was just like, okay, sorry. And then I bought
Dude,
Skyrim
at
and
least-
crashed my computer.
Oh, at least you said your uncle?
Uh-huh.
At least he knew what Saints Row was. I definitely, like, my mom just got me whatever game I asked for, and I don't remember why I had Saints Row, but I definitely had it. And I was telling my mom this literally the other day because I was telling her about the story about my coworker and the software at work, and she was like, "Why were you playing that? How old were you?" I'm like, "I don't remember, first of all, and second of all, that was your responsibility to watch what I was doing."
From you.
Yeah, I was like, she was like, now I need to think back about the games you played. Too late. I'm 30 now.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely should not have played Saints Row when I played it. But to be fair, the first game on a console I ever played was Medal of Honor. My dad would go and shoot everybody because I was too scared to shoot at people. And then he would let me run around the level because back then it was just like level, then load the next level, then load the next level, you know? And so I'd just run around in the game and not want to shoot anybody. But I was probably like 6. It was the first game I played. Well, not the first, but the first console game. The first game I played was Warcraft 2. Another one I probably shouldn't have been playing at that age. Oh well. It was cartoonish and fun.
Super Mario Brothers on the NES. I'm old.
It had such a wide variety. I was like Animal Crossing on GameCube and then Warcraft and Medal of Honor. Like that was my spectrum of games.
We had
Sometimes though.
we had the Bible game on PS2 and Super Bust
Ooh.
Move on PS3.
Oh man,
That's
I
what
didn't even know
my gaming was like back as a kid.
that's hilarious. I didn't even know they had Bible games for the PS2.
It was, surprisingly, it was a lot of fun. It was like a game show, and it was just Bible trivia, and then there was stupid little like mini games at the end.
I do love trivia.
I
That was
love
probably
trivia.
fun. Okay, well, I'm sleepy. I'm sure you're sleepy, unless you stay up late regularly. Let's not.
I
I
do
know it's
stay
like
up late, but I am constantly tired.
there you go. See, I
Yeah.
don't, and I still am constantly tired, but that's just me, I think. This is the latest I stay up is Friday nights.
Ooh.
It's Friday night.
My baby.
But I have Taco Bell sitting here, and I need to go apologize
Ooh.
to my daughter for giving her a death glare earlier. I told
I was wondering who you were death glaring
Monster.
at. I know.
I know, and I felt bad because I was like, okay, the food is gonna get here a little bit late, and so just grab your food, grab your dad's food, and then just put the bag in here. But then the bag ripped, and she didn't know which was what, and so she got overloaded, and she was like trying to ask me a question. But as we learned, if I fuck with my mic, it then like stops everything else. So I'm like, I literally can't do anything right now, child.
Aww. The baby.
Poor
Yeah.
baby.
Okay, well, I'll go snuggle our cats. And
Okay.
you tell Rex that Taco Bell is fine. And she's good. We're good.
We're good.
Sorry, Rex. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you for
Good
joining
night.
us. We ended up liking Jacob, I think, at this end.
Yeah, no one saw this coming.
Spoiler alert, we always end up liking the character. Except for PB. That's not happening. There's no way.
I will give PB the no string
annoying.
scene, and I will give her nothing else.
Yeah.
The
The
no
no
strings
string
is
scene is so good.
Yeah. It is. Oh, I'm sleepy. I don't want to get into this right now, but we will talk more about this.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.